Hello and welcome to the Tough Cover Podcast, as always, with your host, Mark Henry Jr. And you can follow me at Mark Henry Jr. _, and you can follow the Painted Lines at the Painted Lines. But on today's show, we are back for another Saturday show with a loaded slate of basketball. Last Saturday, we did not do so well in college basketball, but we hit huge on All-Star Saturday night, as you guys know if you were following it and watching. We hit Karl Towns on a long shot to win the three-point contest. We hit Team Cavs to win the skills challenge. We hit Obi Toppin to win the slam dunk contest. So I don't know what anyone was talking about a bad slam dunk contest. I enjoyed it. I cashed on it. So, even if it wasn't the most enjoyable, I still got my enjoyment out of it. And then that kicked off an incredibly profitable week. And now on today's show, we are back to the basics, trusting the trends and staying loyal to our takes. 2 days ago, we had a 7-2 huge day, and last night we killed it in basketball. We are up 36 units in February after cashing 52 units in January. We are up 88 units in 2022. And also after last night with the 76ers, how could I not be on top of the world? So without any further ado, let's get ready to gamble. And we've got 11. We've got 11 picks. 11. 1-1. Jimmy Rollins. 11. Got 11 picks, so strap in for a good one here. At 12 o'clock to start off the festivities, I've got Purdue -4.5. As you guys know, they've been my team all year, and I'm taking them at Michigan State for 2 units. Not a huge play, low confidence play. This is simple. I think Purdue's the best team in the country. I think Michigan State is incredibly fraudulent for a no doubt tournament team. Purdue has won 4 straight in this rivalry, and Matt Painter is 8-1 against the spread against Tom Izzo in their last 9 matchups. Sparty is 1-6 against the spread in February. Illinois and other teams have torn Michigan State apart down low. Expect more of the same from Ian Williams, who are second highest in the Big Ten in interior scoring. And even with Jaden Ivey, who averages over 17 points per game, penetrating and getting down low, I think Michigan State gets in foul trouble, and I also don't think they'll be able to handle the interior scoring of the Purdue Boilermakers, even if they're able to score on Purdue's lackluster defense. Talking about lackluster defense, let's move on to the next game at 1 o'clock. I've got 4 units on over 137.5 in Butler Marquette at 1 o'clock. Butler is 4-1 on the over in their last 5, 6-2 in their last 8, and 11-3 in their last 14. 4 out of the last 5 Marquette games have went over. These two teams played 2 weeks ago in a close game that finished at 85-79, 164 points. And you're giving me 137? That's a hell of a value. And in the last 10 games, Marquette totals are on average at 144, which leads me to another bet. Marquette team total over 72.5 for 2 units. 4 of the last 5 Marquette games have gone over this total, with the one game being at 72. 10 of the last 13 Marquette games have gone over this total. I've seen Butler's offense stagnate, so I am still confident in that over with Butler Marquette. But instead of making it my best bet, a 5 or 6 unit play, I split the difference here just a little bit, just in case Marquette is able to win in a blowout and scores way over that 72.5 total, and Butler isn't able to hold up their end of the bargain. So split the difference a little bit there. At 3 o'clock, I've got Miami Pick'em versus Virginia Tech for 2 units. This is a loyalty play. I had Miami at Virginia Tech, and Miami hit a buzzer beater half-court shot to win about a month ago. I think Miami's just the better team and could get to the second weekend in March, depending on the break of the bracket. I'm in big on McGusty and Moore. Miami is 4-1 in their last 4, or in their last 5 straight up and against the spread. Jimmy Larinaga is getting it rolling at the right time for the U. Got to throw off the U right there. At 4 o'clock, we're going with another U. UVA, Virginia, -8.5 versus Florida State for 1 unit. Low confidence play, because these are just 2 teams trending in totally opposite directions. Virginia is 6-1 in their last 7 against the spread. Florida State is 0-9 in their last 9 against the spread, and 1-10 in their last 11 against the spread. They have failed to cover 4 straight games as underdogs. This is a big number for an offense I don't love in Virginia. That's why it's a low confidence play, but I'll back the trends there. These 2 teams are going in completely opposite directions. Virginia, -8.5 for 1 unit. And then 6 o'clock, Rutgers -2.5 versus Wisconsin for 3 units. Rutgers at home against a good team is an auto bet at this point. Throw in that Rutgers beat Wisconsin in Madison already, and it makes me feel even better about this matchup. And I will be down in the area for a Barstool live show for Stool Bench Mob, Rico Bosco, Marty Mush, Jake Marsh. I love those guys. Great pod. Obviously, I went on Pick Central with Rico and Marty a couple months ago. So I'm always down to show support for those guys because they've showed support for me. And I might end up at the game at the Rack. Who knows? Jersey Mike's Arena might be a tough ticket because this is a big game. But, who knows? Maybe I'll end up in the arena. If Rutgers wins, I think they're off the bubble and in comfortably. Rutgers is 6-1 against the spread in their last 7, 13-2 straight up at home with those losses coming in December to Lafayette, and then in I think November to Lafayette, and then January to Maryland. They don't lose to good teams at home. They get up for the big games at home, evidenced by that 13-2 straight up record at home with wins over, pretty much the entire Big Ten. You want to run down all the good teams in the Big Ten. Rutgers is beating them at home is pretty much the deal. And then another game at 6 o'clock, I've got Washington team total over 65.5 versus Washington State for 4 units. Washington has scored over this in 7 of the last 8 games. I bet this at Washington team total over 62 earlier in this week, hard at Wazoo. So again, I'm going back to the well and trusting the same trends that led me to the pay window already. So give me Washington team total over 65.5 for 4 units. And then crossing over to my one play in the NBA tonight. My one play in the NBA, I've got over 224.5 in Spurs, Heat, San Antonio, Miami. I cashed a Miami over last night. They've been a top 3 profitable team in the NBA on the over, surprisingly. And the Spurs, on the other end, have been great on the over as of late. 4-1 in their last 5, 5-2 in their last 7, 6-3 in their last 9, and 9-5 in their last 14. Take a look at how high scoring the recent Spurs games have been, including last night's double overtime, 157-153 win. That was 130-130 in regulation, which is 260, which flies over this 224.5 number. I cashed on the Spurs on a cover last night, and I cashed on the Heat on the over last night, and now I'm back in watching Spurs Heat. So give me over 224.5 for 4 units. At 8:30, I've got 2 plays on Creighton Providence. I'm starting out with Creighton plus 5.5 at Providence for 2 units. This is the analytic nerd in me fading Providence. Creighton is 3-0-2 in their last 5 against the spread. They've covered their last 3 as dogs and are 8-4 against the spread on the year as dogs. And even though Providence is 15-1 straight up as a favorite and at home, they're only 8-8 in both categories, which goes to the proof of them kind of being lucky. And it also goes to show that Creighton could lose and still cover this game. Shot quality projects Providence should be 15-11 based on the quality of the shots it takes and allows, rather than 23-3, which is some of the widest spreads of luck metrics that you'll ever see. Providence is coming off the 3 OT barn burner, which feels like there could absolutely be a huge letdown spot attached to that, even though they can win this game and clinch a regular season Big East title. But as a Villanova fan, I hope there's a letdown, and all college basketball fans should hope so, because it would lead, if Creighton were to win this game, it would lead to Villanova and Providence playing on Tuesday in Philly for the Big East regular season title, and that would be an awesome scene. And if I think this game could be close, you know what that means. I love. If you listen to this show, I have a saying, and it's close games breed overs. Over 137 Creighton Providence for 5 units. This is my best bet. Big East overs have been my bread and butter for me and a lot of folks out there recently. 4 of the last 5 Creighton games have went over. 4 straight games have went over for Providence. 5 of the last 6 and 9 of the last 12 games have went over for Providence. And it's partially because these Providence games have been insane. Late games, like I said, when they're close, breed overs, and Providence is in so many close games, and they have so many chances at overtime. It seems like overtime is so frequent with this Providence Friars team, and Providence has given up 92, 70, 89, and 73 in their last 4 games, while Creighton has given up 78 and 82 in their last 2 games. And now my last play on the board, my late night play, I've got Gonzaga minus 9.5 at St. Mary's for 4 units. I got this early. I think it's up to 10.5 or 11 now. I'd take it up to 13. Copy paste all the reasons I love Gonzaga earlier this week against San Fran. They haven't won a game by single digits in WCC play since February 2020, pre-COVID. Chet Holmgren is turning himself into a no doubt number one pick. In the last 4 games, he's averaging 15 and 14 with 4.5 blocks per game. And he also led the break multiple times at San Francisco at 7-1 and splashes threes on a regular basis. Chet Holmgren and Timmy is by far the best front court in the country. So that wraps up my plays for the day. I have a new little segment here on the pod that I'm going to try out. These are leans, bets that I was a little too chicken to make, but the trends pointed me into the direction of at least looking into. I'm not going to give you the stats or trends or go on and on about the numbers of why I'm interested in these plays. You guys can find that for yourself if you're interested in these games. But the reason that I created this segment is because I always get DMs after I do my show or after I give out my picks for the day asking me about different games that I didn't list and asking me my leans on games that I didn't put out. Well, here's where I'm going to put my leans. And for whatever reason, I didn't pull the trigger on betting these, but these are how I leaned in these games. If I was in a contest where I was betting a bunch of games on a Saturday, or if I was in Vegas and I wanted to bet every game or whatever the case may be, these would be my leans. And if it's not on the list, I don't have a lean. So here are 9 leans for you guys. Over 130 in Iowa State. Kansas State caught my attention. Over 141 in Seton Hall Xavier. Fell in line with the Big East overs trend. Drexel -3 versus Charleston. South Carolina +11 at Bama. South Carolina has been a pretty good underdog. Baylor -3 versus Kansas. Feels like a letdown, or feels like a bounce back spot for Baylor. Colorado +10 versus Arizona. Colorado not very good lately. They had that rough game against Arizona State, but they're a tough team to play at home. And Arizona has pretty much a 1 seed locked up. So I could see Colorado, putting Arizona on upset alert a little bit. UNLV money line versus Boise. I didn't take it because Boise is a legitimate team and they're fighting for their seeding in the tournament, but UNLV is on fire. Watch out for the running Rebels. And then the last one in college basketball, Hawaii -6 versus CS Bakersfield. And then in the NBA, Kings Nuggets over 236.5. They just played. It was very high scoring. These two teams have been really good on the over, but 236.5, I just couldn't pull the trigger. So there were 11 bona fide picks on my card and 9 bonus leads. Let me run through the picks real quick in case anyone's joining in late before I get you guys out of here. Purdue -4.5 for 2 units at Michigan State at 12 o'clock. Over 137.5 in Butler Marquette for 4 units at 1 o'clock. Marquette team total over 72.5 in that game as well. Miami on the pick'em versus Virginia Tech at 3 o'clock for 2 units. At 4 o'clock, I like Virginia -8.5 versus Florida State for 1 unit. At 6 o'clock, I like Rutgers -2.5 versus Wisconsin for 3 units. Also at 6 o'clock, I like Washington team total over 65.5 for 4 units against Wazoo. At 8 o'clock, I like over 224.5 for 4 units in Spurs Heat. At 8:30, I have over 137. Creighton Providence 5.5 units to win 5 units. And also at 8:30 in that same game, I have Creighton +5.5. And then rounding it out at 10 o'clock, I have Gonzaga -9.5 for 4 units. I need to go get some coffee. I need to wake up. I need to get up and go in before this Purdue 12 o'clock game, before this huge slate of college basketball, before I head up to Piscataway, to New Brunswick, whatever you want to call it, to Rutgers for that game. So thanks for listening. Thank you for being a part of the Tough Cover Click, and enjoy the winners.